Anyway, so Kevin and I we're about to finish your book. It's near completion. We had to focus on one chapter because um he's been drafting and I haven't had the chance to read it, but and we'll obviously send it to you before the finalization. But we wanted to know if it was a good idea, if you could possibly tie in the current uh, Vatican Synod with both the German Synod that has taken place and
Sorry.
with what uh, the Catholic Bishops of India conference have taken. Like, because reading I don't know if your Archbishop did some form of synod or what, but when we were reading it, we wanted to know. Like, our question was, what you wrote about Cardinal Oswald and
Yeah.
and and the other auxiliary bishop, I can't remember his name. Was that in a sense a synod, or was it like uh, some sort of like conference or meeting? Like, that was something I was going to ask you, but I haven't had the chance yet.
Synod, no, it was a synod that he had, inauguration of the synod. I think I've quoted his inauguration of the synodal process in the Archdiocese of Bombay.
Not with the current synod. I mean that, like, in years past, has there ever been a
In
synod
the
taking
past,
place?
in years past, when I've made reference to it, okay, yes,
Yeah.
they used to call it the synod when they first added in 1980 or so.
Okay.
They used to call it the synod. Then what happened somewhere in 2000, when they were having every 10 years, they used to have a
Mhm.
process like that. So in 2000 or something, they came a letter from Rome saying you can't call these things synod because synod is only between bishops or something like that. So then they used the word consultation or something like that, archdiocesan consultation. And this is
Okay.
very good you asked me this question because this that skipped my mind. See, so which is interesting because even in that time, Rome used to not recognize any gathering like this as synod, even though they
Uh,
used to call it a synod.
uh-huh. Huh. Interesting. When
Yeah,
is so was it a private letter or a public letter that Rome sent out? Do you remember?
a private letter to the bishops. But one of the professors, I remember mentioning it in passing in the class because we were seminarians that time.
Uh-huh.
So he
Um,
said, Rome says you cannot call it a synod, so that's the reason. So we are calling it a consultation.
that's very interesting. Okay,
Yes,
so do you remember when that occurred?
it was around 2000.
Two,
2000, the synod
two,
of 2000, or the archdiocesan consultation, when Cardinal Ivan was the archbishop then of
oh,
the this thing. Yeah,
uh-huh. Is there any way you could
I can't get
retrieve?
access to a letter or retrieve that letter because it was not a letter, it was mentioned in passing
Uh-huh.
by the this thing when he was lecturing in the class or something. One of those who's become a bishop now, you can't even call him a Christian also, forget Catholic. You
Yeah.
his mind is such,
Uh-huh.
and he has been made a bishop. He was
Uh-huh.
the one I remember clearly mentioned because vividly the picture is there before me that they Rome said that you can't call it a synod. So we are using the word archdiocesan consultation, which means which means in a way you are communicating it is a synod, but we are calling it consultation because Rome is objecting.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Wow, that is really interesting. See,
Yes,
that is something I think you should include that with your book, because I had no idea about that. And I'm glad that it came to our minds, because when we were
yes.
reading what you wrote, that's where Kevin and I we were kind of asking each other, was this really a synod, or was this something totally different but in similarity? So, but I think that is
Yeah, yeah.
something that you should definitely
So,
include. And if you
so
could,
it
and
is a
if
good question you all were deliberating on. Now,
uh-huh,
it's a good question you all were deliberating on. Now, was it
uh-huh.
a synod or was it not? And no. So now, because of that, since you asked me, things have come into the open. Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Which means Rome was very clear till then. Vatican was very clear till then that anything with apart from the bishops' meeting couldn't be called a synod.
Do you remember? who sent the letter? Was it the Congregation for the Doctrine of
No,
Faith,
that was
or?
not mentioned. That was not mentioned at all. Only thing I were told that Rome. I think if I'm not the word that was used, the Rome doesn't want it. Something to that effect,
Uh-huh.
as I
I would,
mentioned.
I'll ask Kevin if he could find out, since he's a really smart attorney, but they have to keep it that in both the Archdiocese of Bombay and the Vatican, they had to probably made copies and kept it in their archives. So
Yes,
I was wondering if there is any way possibly to retrieve that. Do you think?
no possible way. Only thing I could mention in the article, just as mentioned example, that the fact, this is what I experienced, and then I can put that fact that this was what was mentioned at that time, and they started using the word consultation, and in the past they used the word synod. Now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it itself shows that synod is not always a gathering, and Rome was very clear at one time, except now under Francis.
Right.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Do you think? Um, how can we include that book? What's your suggestion if we can include that book in providing some sort of evidence? Do you have any idea? If we can't achieve in finding, that letter in the archives with Bombay or the Vatican, like, is there some source that we can still relate to that can be brought out to everyone's attention? Because that's pretty
The
serious right there.
Yeah, the only no, I can we can only say the fact that the 2000 synod was referred to as a consultation. Nowhere did they use the word synod. No, in itself is this thing. It's a confirmation. No, sort of.
Um, does the Archdiocese of Bombay have in their website like archives of that consultation from the year 2000? Do you know, or did it kind of remain private or secret or whatever?
No, some things, but the letter I don't think may be there. If
Okay.
Ivan was alive, perhaps we could have. There is another source that could help out. I don't know whether there is one fellow called Mark Pinto, who is Monsignor now. He was under Ivan
Uh huh.
in the Vatican,
Uh huh.
and they wanted to reinstate him and give him some position there, but then he was fed up here because not very happy.
Uh huh. Why?
Yeah,
Like, what happened? Why was he not happy?
he was never happy because even as a seminarian, he first year,
Uh
he
huh.
was far junior to me.
Uh
No,
huh.
but first year he joined, and after the end of first year, he left because he said this is something to this effect that this is going to change my faith,
Mm,
the formation in the seminary.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And he came from a very influential family in the Archdiocese of Bombay. So that's the
mm-hmm.
reason the bishops were in good books with them and his family.
How
Very
do you
influential.
how do you spell his last name?
Mark Pinto.
Pinto.
Mark Pinto, Pinto.
P-I
Monsignor,
Monsignor Mark P-I. How do you spell it? P-I-N
Pin, 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 To.
Tio Pinto. Monsignor
Yeah,
Mark Pinto. Okay. And you said his family was very influential.
influential.
How were they
Yeah,
influential? Just
influential
economically, or?
yeah, economically they had donated a lot of things to the church also, and his father was some engineer or something. He has helped out here and there in some church matters also. Yeah,
Mhm.
so very influential family came from. So the bishops were very close to him.
And so he's obviously is he active, or is he retired now within the archdiocese?
No, no, he's active in Rome.
Oh, he's
What
in Rome.
happened? Yeah, yeah. When Cardinal Ivan was there, he said there is, I lose my faith. So the Cardinal Ivan, what he did was he pushed him to Rome, and he did his all his studies in Rome.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah. Then when I went to Rome, I went to meet him. Now, when I went to meet him, he was boasting about how he was instrumental in throwing the two professors out. So I told him, shared with him my experiences of the whole thing, and he did not dispute that.
Hmm.
I,
um, what is he doing? Is he still in Rome to this day?
yes, yes. He came for a short while to the Archdiocese of Bombay, but he was not very happy, looks like.
Uh-huh.
No, because they wanted to give him some position in the Archdiocese, looks like. But the priest also would not welcome such a fellow. No,
Uh-huh.
because the thinking, because they did not like even Cardinal Ivan. For
Hmm.
them, Cardinal Ivan was a foreigner,
Uh-huh.
even though
What
he was
what is he doing currently in Rome right now? Do you know?
Monsignor Mark Pinto. No idea, no idea.
Is he a man that you and I can trust?
That may be a difficult thing to difficult. That would be difficult to, because if the man could act a little crooked and get his way through to Rome and for power position, I do not know whether we could trust the man.
Mm-hmm. Um,
Yes,
I'll ask Kevin.
because
Because
his mother is also now she was part of the she was holding some secular position as sports in charge in the state of Maharashtra in
mm-hmm,
India,
mm-hmm,
and she worked her way through some crooked means and ways to
mm.
that position.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can ask Kevin because since he has contacts in Rome, maybe they might know Monsignor Pinto better. But if there's a way, and so you said that he was very close with Cardinal Ivan Diaz. Was he like a private secretary, or they just remained
Yeah, at
close
some point
friends?
he was, I think at some point he was also the secretary for Cardinal Ivan when he took charge of CEP, evangelization of people.
Uh huh. Uh
Yeah,
huh. Okay.
and
Okay.
because what happened, with that's the time we went to meet him. So he welcomed us, treated us well,
Uh
me
huh.
and another, yeah, who
Uh
was
huh.
his classmate and
Uh huh.
junior. So
Oh, okay.
then when I came back, I wanted some information because Cardinal Ivan, when I talked to him about my retreat, he quoted to me Saint Anthony of Padua, but I had forgotten about it, which saint. The only thing I remembered the quote. No,
Mm-hmm.
that contemplation is meant for everyone. So I asked him, just asked Cardinal Ivan which saint it was. So he, as a secretary, asked Cardinal Ivan. So Cardinal Ivan was very happy to hear from me through his secretary. So he said, "Oh, Conrad, okay, it's okay, kindly convey my regards to him." Whereas the other priest, he was little hostile too. Yeah, but only thing I did not keep up communications with the bishop because I am normally not. I normally keep away from people in positions and authority.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I can see that, and I think I think too, like with your book, if that was mentioned, um, what was I going to say?
the
If that was
synod.
mentioned, huh?
About the synod, you mean? About the synod?
Yes, about the synod.
Yeah.
Because I think it just makes sense now how Rome is trying to look at the examples of not only what the Germans are doing, but also if it can be pointed out of what India has done too. Um,
Yes.
then it would be all interconnected and saying, what the synods or so-called consultations
Yes.
have produced, is nothing infidelity to doctrine, but
True.
more in essence of, like you quote, this Marxist humanist approach, this
Yes.
new heresy that is definitely being promoted, and would end the church itself because
Well,
it's no longer focused on God. It's now focused on man and his uh, and his egregious interpretation of what human free will is and what the essence of freedom is. in and of itself. So I think, I think it's very important if we can find that letter, and if not, if we can look and give examples from
Yes.
your archdiocese about, this so-called consultation and what effects it had or didn't had, not only with the local churches there, but the universal church as a whole. And I'm not sure if you read any of the documents of what the German Synod keeps posting, because it just seems every month it just gets even more bizarre, and not only more bizarre, but just in defiance toward Rome and toward the universal church as a whole.
Yeah. But Rome itself has given a leeway, by saying, by communicating something which can never be a synod, having lay people and having every individual participate. The synod has always been understood as a gathering of bishops.
Absolutely.
By the Vatican and by the others. It's always been understood. Even in the early church, it has always been understood as a gathering of bishops and maybe the experts, even if they were under supervision of the bishop. Even if experts participated, because the church, this is what I don't know whether you are aware of this statement. The church always believed that the bishops have the fullness of the Spirit. So they were the ones who were supposed to be discerning and taking decisions for the church.
Right.
But though it's a statement that is believed on in the church, but in practice today there's a far cry, because if the bishops have the fullness of the Spirit now, and if it was true, practically speaking, if it was true, then we wouldn't really, the church would not be in this difficult, in this doldrum. One. Second thing, if the bishops had the fullness of the Spirit, then they would have even performed exorcism and encouraged the ministry of exorcism. They are so afraid. Many a times they're so afraid.
Why are they afraid? Why are they afraid?
I'll give you one practical example. When years ago, this fellow, Oswald Gracious, stopped my retreat in 2008. Then I took one case of deliverance to him. I said, see, here is you know what he told me? How you're doing it. And the way he communicated, I'm showing with his actions. These were his actions. You're doing it. Okay. You do it. But don't involve me, please. No. Though he never said that verbally, but you do it. No. But don't involve me, sort of. So it showed the kind of fear that they carried. And I see the reason is because they know deep down that they are not living their faith. And at the same time, they are bluffing, probably. They know that they are bluffing and they're living a life of bluff with the people. And so that's the reason they would not want to get into it as such. And then they would caution others also, oh, please don't get into it. It's a very dangerous ministry. So neither they, as the Lord says, neither they nor will they allow others to enter in. Yeah. Because at one point I did mention to him that you require in the Archdiocese of Bombay, you require not one exorcist, but you require plenty. No.
Right. No, I think, I'm not sure if it's currently in canon law, but I know like the canon law that was reformed from 1917, the Pio Benedictine law, that actually was included, that each diocese was not supposed to only have just one exorcist, but they were, like you said, were supposed to have multiple. And so now with the current, canon law that was promulgated by John Paul II in 1984. I can't recall if it does include that still, or if they just took that out.
No, then but at least there was, I don't know whether it was official or unofficial rule that each diocese should have one exorcist at least,
Mm,
which was much later. I think post canonically they may have thought about these things and tried to have one.
right. Uh-huh.
Because I don't know whether you are aware, John Paul II had one experience on exorcism, and
Yes.
it
Mm-hmm.
made a deep impact on him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the story goes something like this: there was a case brought to him, and he tried to exorcise. He was not successful,
Mm-hmm.
and then he said, "I will offer a holy mass for you," and that brought about the deliverance.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Just that statement, and he saw the power of the holy mass in that act, that this thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that made a profound impact on him. That's what it says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have heard about that, and how he wasn't successful the first time, and so he he had to lead a recourse to a different prayer, the liturgical prayer through the mass, in believing that that was going to be the only way for deliverance.
Okay, so that is about exorcism. So tell me now, what are the things, and how could it progress, and where is it? Where has it reached? The book.
Uh, for your book, so it looks like we'll be able to do 4 interviews for you once when it gets published. Uh, let's see. I'm still in talks of how to get the dates all set up for you, since the time zones are going to be completely different, obviously. So it looks like you will probably get 4 interviews with Life Site News, uh, Church Militant, uh,
Reverend
EWTN's Raymond
EWTN.
Arroyo. Who am I missing? I'm missing a fourth one. Um, a Byzantine Catholic who has his own YouTube channel by the name of Reason and Theology, and his name is
Okay.
Michael Loft. He's someone I think you would probably get a successful interview. And then I'm still trying to hear a word from Michael Matt from the Remnant, if that would be also a possibility too. Because
Okay.
Michael Matt actually, Dr. Oban has been sending me videos from him lately in regards of the crisis that's going on between Ukraine and Russia, and it's much more deeper than what all of us see through the media. Of it's not exclusively just a war between Ukraine and Russia. It involves the higher elites, especially from the United States, who want
Deep
this.
state.
Oh yeah, the deep
Deep
state,
state.
absolutely. And and actually, it was interesting because one of the episodes that I was watching last week that Dr. Oban sent me, it made me think back of a conversation that I had a couple months ago with a friend of mine. He's atheist, but he and we think similarly on political matters, and so we were talking about the elites and statism and all that, and I mentioned to my friend, because he's much older than me, he's 57 and I'm 31. I said
Mm.
to him, I don't believe by the time of my life that the United States will still continue to exist. And he goes, really? And that shocked him. And he's like, so what's going to replace it? And I told him, honestly, I don't know what's going to replace the American government. I just know it's going to be the end of America. And he agreed with me when I said, let's just face it. My my country, kills the innocence of children in the womb, through the so-called right to choose of abortion. And then you have the promotion of human sexual or homosexuality, and gay marriages as sanctioned. And now it's going even further to people can change their gender identity and calling whatever, how they feel and everything. And I told them that's exactly what the Empire of Rome went through, and because we're a very, very powerful country, we're just only killing ourselves even further, to the point that when we start promoting, this evil ideology, and letting Satan, rule the day, America is going to cease to exist. And so when I was watching one of the videos from the remnant just last week, how he said what's going to replace, not just America, but basically every governmental institution throughout the world is no longer a sovereign state, but this, again, new world order, or in his terms, Michael Matt, this new world disorder, that it's only going to come under one supposedly authoritative rule. Right, exactly. Yeah. But have many, I guess, in a sense, elites, controlling specific regions. And that like really got to me right there. And I was just like, wow. And that's, not only are they trying to do that through secular governments, but they're also trying to do that through our beloved Catholic Church too, and having George Soros giving in millions of dollars, to to these fake Catholic groups, such as what's their name? I think they're called Dignity.
Caritas.
Well, Caritas too, but there's another group. I think they're called like Dignity or something. They promote homosexuality and saying it's still compatible with God's plan or whatever. They're really ridiculous, and they were actually condemned not only by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, but also by the Vatican under Pope Benedict XVI, I believe in 2007 or 2008, and telling them you need to cease your existence, cease your operations immediately, or you will be excommunicated. And, for various reasons, we don't know why that's never been done, where one, why they have not stopped their operations and continuing on with their promotions, and two, why the Vatican never carried out, its warning to them and saying, okay, fine, then you're going to be excommunicated. But in regardless, like, just the way things have become right now, it's just the timing of everything just makes almost sense to me. Of now, it's just much deeper than what we're being shown, through the media. And even, through the media, you have to be careful of, what they present to you. Is it factual, or is it some sort of distortion?
Lie.
Right. Exactly. And I think, like, when you have faithful Catholics like Michael Voris and Michael Matt, who are able to give us, a fuller picture or an objective picture, then it makes you even, more careful of what you watch.
Michael Matt has a rich background. I think his background is also, I think his father and grandfather, I think, were in part of the press that covered Vatican news and things like that. So he has a lot of richness in him, Michael Matt.
Yep, he does. And I think Kevin is personally good friends with him. So I have to ask Kevin about that, because Kevin was the one that sent the request to him about a possible interview for you to promote your book. So I'll have to call Kevin later this week and ask him about that. And then as well too, I have to ask him what he found in regards of international copyright laws, between the United States and India in regards of your book too. So I haven't gotten a chance to ask him about that yet.
What about the forward? We were trying Vegano or Arinze or the Hong Kong Zen.
I have not received a response from them. I did receive a response from Cardinal Burke, and he said that he first would like to read it before he can make any kind of considerations of forwarding the book, because he said the idea of your book is something that deeply is close to him, especially on the canonical matters of the synod. So I think when we can get your book ready to go with the final editing and publishing, then I can send him a copy really fast and he can read it, because it's relatively short. I think your book, it's maybe like 50 pages. So and Kevin and I, we dropped we cut some chapters. Yeah, so that way, because we thought 13 chapters was a bit too much. So we're cutting it down. We're trying to see if we can cut it down to 5 chapters. But the material that you presented was much better, and more information that would give you more credibility. And especially now of what you said, if we can find that private letter from the Vatican to Bombay in regards of what they said, that you can't call this a synod, that's just going to give you even more credibility right there, and how it ties in currently with the German synod and the Vatican synod. And I think that's something Cardinal Burke would definitely write his forward about, in explaining that, yes, this is a book that definitely every Catholic should read if you want to take seriously the matters of what's being presented, And then
as the anecdotes that I have mentioned been kept intact in this thing, most of them, or that also has been this thing removed.
The anecdotes in regards of your retreat, or was this something different?
No. To come, see, from the micro, I've communicated the macro. Like for example, the Paulo Freire example is one.
The power of what?
Paulo Freire, the Brazilian philosopher and thinker. Remember Paulo Freire?
Oh, yes. That. I haven't had a chance to ask Kevin about that, because he said he wanted to research a little bit more, and he just said he was reserved because he didn't know what to think about it just yet. So he was like, let me read further about the Brazilian philosopher and see if it kind of ties in with Father Conrad's book. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I don't know what Kevin thinks about that just yet.
Okay. Because the key idea that was, I think one of the key, the key thought is there in that anecdote, that how you are made to, in the sense you are involved in the process, and at the same time you don't realize you are sidelined also in the process.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Without making it real, you are led on a bluff game.
Mm-hmm.
Now.
Mm-hmm.
So what should I say, bluff trail. So you are also led into deception. You think you are being involved in the process, and that is what the synod is also all about. That you're walking together and talking together, but in reality, your opinion will never be taken into consideration. No. One.
Yeah.
And the second thing that we are communicating is, first of all, your opinion is not supposed to be taken into consideration in the first place. No. In itself, it is the bishops that are supposed to be this thing sitting in the synod now. And they may, if they want to, can choose to consult you and whoever they want. No, but it can't be the general public. No. And the second thing is, you are made to feel that your opinion is being taken, but it will not be taken into consideration, because Francis has his own agenda. No,
right.
And the Vademecum and the preparatory document communicates that clearly. No. And then another element that I had also brought out is the which I sometimes feel angry when I hear this. You're not supposed to have certainties. No. So a very first faith means it is certainty about, for example, just to give you one example of the faith is, for example, existence of God, that God is true. It's a certainty that you need to have in your hearts,
right?
Or else it is no faith. No. So Francis is telling you don't have to have certainties, which means no dogmas, no this thing, no that thing. So that means You don't have your certainties till when you empty your thing, I am the one who is going to fill it up
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
with my
Exactly.
certainties. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
so it's a typical deceiver's game.
Yeah.
Typical deceiver's game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, and that's something like Kevin and I, we completely agree with 100%. And I think also, I think with your ending too, because like you said, you want to promote, your spiritual retreat. This came to me the other day when I was thinking about your book. Your book, in a sense, I think would give a reference to the theological virtue of hope. That despite all the trouble that the church is going through and what we're going through, in the end, because you dedicated your book to the Immaculate Heart, we should never give up on the virtue of hope, because if we did, what replaces hope is more misery and more despair, to the point that it would, in a sense, make us go crazy. And I think if we can somehow tie that in the end, uh, that hope is very, very essential to both, living your faith and through Catholic charity. In the end, there will be a triumph, over
Sure.
evil through her Immaculate Heart. And how in your book you did all that you could to, in a sense, give out this warning, to the universal church as a whole, is, what happened in India and what's currently happening in Germany is just only going to lead to more chaos,
Confusion,
more
chaos.
confusion.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sure.
And I think too, using Francis's own words, listen to a priest who comes from those peripheries, listen to a priest in those peripheries that knows that experience, has lived through that experience, and yet came out uh, triumphantly under her Immaculate Heart to give out this warning and saying, even me, I'm being cascaded by my own bishops and brother priests in India. But yet I continue on in preaching the gospel because I live this gospel. I don't live this bluff that every individual bishop and priest in India or in the United States or anywhere, kind of lives this superficial faith, because I, Father Conrad, lives this natural faith, that I truly believe in proclaiming the gospel and lived this gospel in my own sufferings, and yet continue on with the virtue of hope, that in the end, all will be well, no matter how hard and how much of my effort I put forth.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
And I think
Amen to
that
that.
that right there gives me encouragement. And I think that right there will definitely give a lot of people encouragement.
Sure. 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 So how long do you think now this process will? Because initial thing was is that yeah, now I'm given up on those whole deadlines now, because uh, things have got
Right.
delayed.
Mm-hmm. And I apologize for it. I really, really do. Um,
Yeah.
it will be done. It should be done, I would say, a week before Easter. I don't know when Easter is. I think it's like the 17th or something.
17th,
Yeah.
17th of yeah.
Yep. So it should be done a week before Easter. So around Holy Week. And the reason why I have to say that is because let me finish these final 2 weeks of my basketball officiating. And then that way I have all the free time to finally get everything done and completely uh and get it all complete. So that way I can finally get in contact with your 4 interviews, find a possible date, get in contact with Cardinal Burke and with Cardinal Sin to get your book forwarded, and tell Kevin, all right, let's get this final chapter done with his book, and then send it to Father Conrad for his approval, and then to get it published. And like I said, with now that new information, if we can somehow find it as quickly as possible, the Vatican's letter to your archdiocese, or possibly get in contact with Monsignor Pinto to find more information about it, because I think that would be even more critical if we can somehow get that letter, and provide the evidence of what the Vatican said to India and what the Vatican, in a sense, keeps saying to the German Synod: do not deteriorate this way. We've already given you explicit, clear instructions about the Synod. It's just going to tie in your book even better.
Or I put it as an anecdote, or alternatively, that this is what the professor said, who is now a bishop, auxiliary bishop in the Archdiocese of Bombay, that Rome had directed them not to call it a synod, but a consultation. Because synod, yeah.
Okay.
So that way. Or else the diocese was keen on calling it a synod, and Rome had clearly directed that you cannot call such gatherings a synod.
Okay.
In case if you can't get the document, because I would have no access to the document. Many things are more in memory than specifics.
And like I said, Kevin's a smart attorney. I'm sure he could find those documents. So
yes.
I'll see what he can do to get it. So, and
he would know which congregation would handle it also, whether it could be either the CEP or there's a congregation for the Dr. SCDF. Yeah.
Yep.
Either of the two.
And you said, and so Monsignor Pinto, is he an auxiliary bishop or is he just a Monsignor priest?
Now I think he's still he's a Monsignor. I think. I don't think he's been promoted.
Okay. And then so the auxiliary priest that you mentioned, is that the same one in your book? Or is that the one that you're telling me he's the one that received the notification by the Vatican?
No, he did not. He had information to the notification because he was involved in the he was heavily into social and social works in the diocese, in keeping with the socio-Marxist humanistic agenda, and he couldn't call his thinking Catholic also. Even now, as an auxiliary bishop, he has been in charge of that Francis's environment, godless thing, saving the earth and saving this thing through care of environment. He's in charge of that.
Who is this auxiliary bishop again?
Auxiliary bishop, this one, Alvin De Silva.
How do you spell his last name?
D''Silva.
De Silva?
Yes, De Silva.
Okay. I'll look him up and see. What do you think? I kind of doubt it, but do you think if there was a way to contact him, would he be truthful about it or no?
Bishop Alvin De Silva. He part of that mafia of the archdiocese. He's absolutely a part of the mafia. So he's one reason bishop, because he's part of that socio-humanist Marxist mafia, who in a way, along with this previous bishop Bosco Pena, they combined well in this thing of ruling the archdiocese with their ideologies and thinking. Yeah. So they belong to the new, what should I say, to the new heresy. Absolutely children of the new heresy.
All right.
In fact, I think a doctor recently had come out with a video on this thing on the synod
Uh-huh.
of synodality as well. And some of those in his own parish there, he is based in a particular parish, they heard, and I think they heard through this one, Dr. O'Brien, about my book. So they were thinking of giving him a copy of my book to
Oh,
expose him and his
uh-huh.
falsity and his falsity.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Hmm. Interesting.
yeah.
Um, let me ask Kevin about this particular bishop, because I know Kevin has experience in like for example, he's told me even though he primarily focuses on business law. Um, Very early on in his career, he did do criminal law, and he had to prosecute the mafia here in the United States. So I'll ask him, through his background, if there was a way to, retrieve all this information and see about it with these particular bishops, if we can get any information with them, or for him to just say, you know what, maybe it's just best not to include these guys in asking, so let me ask and see what Kevin thinks about it. But
Okay.
I really want to get that letter from what the Vatican wrote to Bombay and include that with your book, because I think that is now very critical.
Sure,
That will
sure.
definitely.
If you get that letter, it would be the best.
Oh, big time. Absolutely.
Yes, 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 yes,
So,
yes. And
yeah.
that too, it came as the first point in our discussion. As if God, you know, God wanted it.
uh,
Yeah.
well, yeah. And then it's just all about timing, I guess. It's interesting how
Mm, mm,
God allows these
yes,
things to
yes,
happen.
yes, yes, yes.
Um, well, anyway, I have to get going, but is there anything else that you need or want from your book?
Ah, that reminds me, you were sent a copy of that Michael Prabhu's book. You should be receiving it anytime
I
on the New Age. New Age.
I was supposed to receive it?
Yeah, you'll be receiving it anytime. I think it was sent about 3, 4 days back.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know how long it takes to reach the States and how it was sent, but it was sent.
from India to the United States?
Yeah, from India to the United States. Yeah,
It
to
typically
your
takes
address.
about it typically takes about 3 weeks for shipment.
Okay, okay. So you may have to wait for another 2 weeks, but
That's fine.
don't become too weak.
I look forward to reading it, because like I said, once when basketball season is finally over in 2 weeks, there's a lot of books that I got to catch up in my reading. So I know I'll include one of that for sure.
Yes. This could be more like a reference book.
Oh, okay.
The Yeah, on New Age,
Uh-huh.
because he has been very comprehensive in covering, and most of probably is based himself also more on the Vatican, one of the documents, Jesus Christ, the bearer of the water of life,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which also exposes the New Age movement.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's based on that. Yeah.
Okay.
So good. So I now 4, 5 days I'll be out. I'll be back only on the 26th. Yeah. So once I'm there, you may not have these kinds of light, and I may not look as bright as this,
Uh-huh.
because here I'm in a hotel room which has lights which are good enough.
Is it a pretty nice
Yeah.
hotel where you're at right now?
Yeah, this is how the room is. This is only for the night, because since we are, and this is how it is. Well,
Uh-huh.
at least 3 of the lights are on. It's
Uh-huh.
like being in a studio.
Oh, I bet.
Of course, I've not switched on the AC nor
Uh-huh.
the fan, because
Uh-huh.
I'm comfortable. I tell people I'm more comfortable with my fans around me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How
So
is it visiting? How is it visiting right now in Bombay?
no, I reached this afternoon, not late afternoon. That is around 3:30 or so. Then I had some banking job. Yeah, and then I came here. Then I prepared myself for this meeting,
Mhm.
and here I'm here before you. Now after this, I'll be making one, two calls, two, three calls. Yeah, what I forgot to tell you is, I somehow feel that the bishops have got a hint of my book coming out or what, I don't know. But they have let the feminist loose on me.
Oh, really?
Oh yes, yes, of late, and they
Are we
have
talking? Are we
been
talking the bishops in India or like around the
bishops in
world?
Bombay.
Did it get leaked out? Because Kevin and I, we haven't said anything to
No, no,
anybody
no,
about
not
your book.
you, not no, no. I'm not blaming you all,
No, no,
but
I
I'm
know that,
saying
but
because in the discussion, what happens? One person don't tell anybody. No, their father is planning to come out with the book. Don't tell anybody, and somehow it goes on like this.
mm,
So no, it could be possible. That could be the reason, or it could be also there was a priest who was going through a problem and he had to come, and the bishops got a hint that he came to me for this thing help.
mhm,
No, and I was able to help him out. No, so that could be another reason why they may have let the feminist loose on me.
mhm. Huh. Interesting.
So they have been going around spoiling my name.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
Uh-huh.
they have been somehow trying to put a stop to the retreat work that I am doing.
Uh-huh.
Just
Well,
put a full stop. Yeah.
uh-huh. Well, I hope
And
it doesn't go ahead.
yeah, so I do not know. I really do not know because as I keep telling people, retreat is not my primary work and ministry.
Right.
No, my
Mm-hmm.
primary work and ministry has always been in keeping with the gift God has given me is to discern true and false doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
that has been a very powerful gift that God has given me. So much so that when somebody is teaching wrong, I'm able to sort of immediately pick up if something
Mm-hmm.
is wrong here.
Right. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
To discern true and false teachings and doctrine. No,
Yeah. Well,
so that has been my primary gift. Yeah, tell me, tell me.
I hope, you would consider going back to get your licentiate and even a doctorate in either sacred theology or scripture or dogmatic theology because you have that mindset and obviously I would help pay for your tuition um, either in Rome or whatever pontifical university of your choosing because I can see that gift that God has given you in that discernment and how you're able to quickly, refute it in all this heresies that's being promoted, and openly embraced by the clergy. So, and I hope too that it doesn't escalate you to the point with these bishops and priests coming out and attacking you that you would have to flee for your safety because if that was the case I would automatically take you in here in the United States and Kevin and I we would provide you that visa in getting you safely here and you would be welcome in the United States by different guys. Yep.
So thanks, Andrew. That was nice. Your assurance. Yeah, I would have actually, but I feel one is my age. No. Second thing is the kind of work that I'm doing. I don't know. It will be through correspondence or so whether I could continue studying. No, doing further studies would mean I would have to opt for staying, in a
Hmm.
different place and college and things like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whether at this age, I somehow feel physically I've grown faster than my age.
Yeah, I know how you
Old,
feel right there. That's for
grown
sure.
old fast. Yeah, grown
Uh,
old faster than my age
yeah,
physically with so
yeah.
many, yeah, trials
I may
and
I may be 31 years old, but already I feel way too old
yeah,
to even keep
I,
up anymore. So
I
I know that
understand.
feeling.
I understand that. Yeah. So that way. So I don't know whether I could really, and from the gifts that God has granted me, as I told you, I've had confronted, at least four cardinals, and besides that, even through my lawyer and all, even this thing Rome also, cardinals and dicasters in Rome. But myself, I've confronted four cardinals and bishops and theologians and things, and people like that through whatever, even though they have been PhDs and doctorates and things like that. No,
Mhm.
confronted them on wrong teaching. God has used me in spite of my poor,
Uh-huh.
uh, comparatively poor education. God has
Mm,
still used um,
yeah.
in this area.
And
No,
in a sense, you've become a modern Saint Bernard. Is how I view it. You know, is very 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 theologically sound, and yet
mm,
you keep to yourself because you're not involved with various clergymen or big conferences or host events. And it's interesting because I think that's something the church has to go back. You have this missionary spirit where today the church kind of wants to promote herself in big events and have large groups, but I think it has to downsize, to again receive that purification. And so when I talk to you about these things, it refreshes my soul and refreshes, my mindset, because you and I, we think very similarly, but as
sure,
well, I think too, because you and I are very deep in our contemplative thought, that's something the church has to go back into.
sure, sure. And that's a solution to the church. If the
Mhm.
church, I also strongly believe, if the church we has to be transformed. Now, one of the solution I have for the present situation is my retreat,
Mhm.
which is a
Yeah,
contemplative retreat.
yep,
Now,
absolutely, absolutely. And I think that from what you said in wanting that to be included in your book, that again would be another example of when you wrote, how can we resolve the current issue that's being presented with the synod? Contemplation, silent retreats, prayer,
yes,
uh,
sure,
being true to doctrine and liturgy.
sure,
and
sure.
and especially with contemplative prayer, we may not get the results immediately or how we want it to be, but God in his mysterious ways leads us, to that right direction.
Sure. See, I'll tell you the reason why contemplation, because a contemplative is one who opens himself to purification by God much more than any other person.
Hmm.
So, because God is in the business of purification. Now,
Hmm.
if Paul says, cultivate your salvation with trembling and fear, one of the aspects, not just self cultivation, it is you sitting in God's presence and allowing God to cultivate you also.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
God doing the business of purging, purification, cleansing, something like what Hebrews 12 for following says. Every child whom the Father receives, he disciplines, he purifies. No. So God is in the business. And a contemplative opens his soul much more to purification than any kind of other prayers. No.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is the beauty of contemplation.
Hmm.
Um, And at our retreats, we see that abundantly. I communicate this, and they cooperate, and they do so well. Many of them,
Hmm.
they will find deliverance also. You know.
Hmm.
Like the last retreat, there the girl came with the mother, but they had gone to so many places. They went to so many retreat centers also. So here also she was doubtful. This that. So I told her, how much percentage you are better? She said 50% I'm better. No. So then I gave her the example. Now this is like the common cold. There are two things that can happen, common cold. One is it is in a non-controllable state where there is no control, it can progress and become worse. And here there is a control, you have already healed of it, and it is now getting better. It is just a matter of a few days and you will be better. No. So here the process has been set and you will be better. Just follow certain things that I've told you. And she did that. And on full moon, she used to have problems. So full moon was in India. There is every full moon there's some festivity. On full moon, she called. Next day, full moon she called me up, but I couldn't pick up. The next day, she called me up, and she was telling, "Father, I am healed. No such problem. I'm
Mm.
set free. I'm
Mhm.
set free." No. So that is the beauty of what we offer. I said, according to the measure you give, God can do a work now. And they did cooperate. They did
Mhm.
cooperate and set free. Even a mother who is to experience her, even a mother is okay.
Mhm. Good.
Yeah, yeah. So like that.
Mhm.
So then there were other cases also like that. If they cooperate fully, they can experience that freedom now
Mhm.
because God
Mhm.
is doing a work through contemplation.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
why I feel the Lord said, Martha, Martha, you are busy about many things, but what is required is this one thing. Because
Mhm.
to sit at the Lord's feet is far greater work than all other work we may do for the Lord.
Mhm. Mhm.
No,
Exactly. Exactly.
because God will continue to use you even after death.
Yeah, that's for sure. And
Yes.
it's interesting too because what you just said reminds me of Cardinal Robert Sarah's book, The Power of Silence. And in it he says we should stop the verb to do and start immersing with the verb to be in contemplation, to be
Sure,
in
sure,
that prayerful mode. And what you said just rightly hits the point right there. So
sure,
anyway, I have to get going because I got to take my son
sure.
to school. And oh, before I forget, please send Father Frankie my regards of what happened to his brother. I sent uh, uh, I
Condolence.
sent I sent the message to Cardinal Burke, and Cardinal Burke offered a mass on Father Frankie's brother's repose of his soul. So, and I'll see if I can have Cardinal Burke send a personal letter to Father Frankie to provide some sort of, uh, uh, I guess, consolation, if you want to say. Um, but other than that, I hope everyone else is doing okay, and I'm also hoping now that the travel restrictions are starting to ease, it seems like there will be a possibility that I will come and visit India this year. So I'm just
Welcome.
waiting. I'm just waiting for all the restrictions to be totally lifted. Because currently, right now, I can actually travel to India. Uh, I don't have to quarantine, but there's some loopholes that I'm still not like comfortable just yet. So I'm just waiting to see when everything is totally lifted. This is going to be the moment for me to visit all of you, and I look very much forward to it.
Same here.
Welcome. Most welcome. Most welcome. Looking forward to come.
Appreciate it. Anyway, I got to get going. Father, may I receive your
Sure.
blessing before I go? And good to see you, Justin. Hope to connect with you soon.
Same here, Andrew. Same here.
The Lord be with you,
And
And
with
with
your
your
spirit.
spirit.
and may Almighty God bless you, Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
God bless.
God bless you too. Take care.
Bye, Andrew.
Thank you.
Bye, Father.
God
Yep.
bless. Bye,
Bye.
bye, bye, bye. And Justin, thank you so much.